camera, but we're gonna get this going. So, Fred, stay. We're gonna get we're gonna get the right tool for you because you take different tools to groom. Those are my boots. Let me grab all my special clippers just from this girl. Try to turn around, let people see your face. There we go. Awesome. So this is Fred. She is my corded standard poodle. And so we're going to be doing a few things. We're going to be shaving in her pattern today. We're going to be double checking, making sure all the cords are splitting properly. We're going to be trimming up some of these cords, tidying them up. And we're going to see if we can fix some of the issues that we are having with her cords. So we're going to bring up some elastics because some of her cords need help for me, especially the ones on the top of her head here. So we'll be doing that. And if you don't mind me, I'm just trying to find where my silk needle went to. Because, fun fact, my felting needle has gone missing again, even though I keep it in the same spot every time. So, but this is Fred. We're gonna go through. We're gonna make sure her cords are separating, that there's nothing too weird going on. Like I found a spot already here where I don't know if a cord got damaged, but we've got this little piece that isn't working quite right, and I don't know why. So we're gonna make sure that this weird little short bit here that's shorter than all the rest of her cords is banded so that it'll cord together, or banded into other cords to help strengthen those ones. So things like that is what we're going to do. So feel free to ask questions. I'm always open to questions on the process. So, and of course, the more likes that Fred gets, the more treats she gets, and Fred loves her treats. So one of the most important things you need to be sure of when you're dealing with a corded dog like this is to make sure that those cords go all the way, the split in the cords goes all the way to the skin. So at any point where I open up between her cords, I should be able to see her skin. I should be able to see that nice pink skin underneath when I open them up. If I can't see that, that means those cords are not split all the way to the skin. And if they're not split all the way to the skin and they start to combine, then it becomes, rather than cords, it starts to become just matting. And matting is a very uncomfortable thing for dogs. And it can actually be damaging to them in the long run. So you always want to make sure that those cords are staying properly separated as you're doing the process. So they do not hurt her. Poodles are intended to be a corded breed. They actually have a lot of really loose skin, which allows for the hair to clump. But because we're looking at very small sections here, so this is it. You can see a single cord right here. You see the skin on either side. So it's not pulling on them. When this becomes dangerous is if you start getting a bunch that start pulling in together. So it doesn't hurt. It is a natural style for the standard poodle. Just don't see it often anymore because to get this look, you have to let your dogs go through an extremely ugly stage for a while. And when I say ugly, it really does look like you're neglecting their grooming, even if you are taking care of it every day and trying to make sure that everything is splitting the way it should. It's just what we're going to do before I go ahead and start doing any trimming on her. But I want to make sure these cords are doing exactly what they should and staying split right at the base and not creating any potential problems. So I mean, if you think about it, it's like doing a little ponytail on us. So if you take a little piece like this, well, you're not pulling hair from too many different places. But the more you grab and the more you try and pull that together at the base, the more it's going to hurt, which is why cords are such small things because they have the loose skin to allow for that movement. But as I said, they become dangerous. It's when they start all going in together. So I'm going to look a little bit like a monkey here as I go through my dog and try and make sure that these cords are doing what they're supposed to and splitting right at the skin. We're getting to a point now where her bracelets, which have taken the longest to cord, are at a point where some of these cords can be scissored down so that you can see that they're not fuzzy and turning into cords, but some of them need to be banded to make sure that they continue to cord properly in some places where they aren't cording properly. So you can see that these are just a bunch of little loose straggles. So I'm going to take the time to go in here and decide what I want to turn into a cord for the future and how that's going to look on her. Generally, on bracelets, you want slightly smaller cords than you want on the rest of the dog. Um, Now, because the bracelets are one of the last places on her to cord, I know this is where likely most of my work is going to be for making sure that these splits are happening. Another tough part for her is on her tail because that did not cord the way I wanted initially. So I do have to make sure that we are not getting any issues with her tail. So good girl. Yeah. Can I have this paw? Thank you. Um, when you have a cord dog, like I find overall maintenance a fairly easy thing. A lot of people find it very difficult. A lot of it does depend on the environment in which you live. It helps that I live in what is generally a very dry environment. So when I do wash her, she air dries fairly quickly. I also use tools like a microfiber robe that she wears to help her dry a little bit quicker. Um, but the key to cording is matting with intention. And for a poodle, that means getting them wet and letting them air dry. So, come here, Fred. Face me. Come here. Head up. Head up, baby. So, we are going to make sure. Oh, Fred, you've already got 420 likes. I guess you better get a treat, huh? Got some in my pocket, but not much. I better grab some more and put some more in my pocket. Good girl. Good babies. There's a pretty good chance with it being Fred on the table and me having treats, you're going to see my cat, who is now on my chair. Brew. Yeah, Fred, you earned this. Good girl. Yeah, get your treat. Okay, and there's the cat. She is pretty sure all treats are for her, much in the same way Fred thinks all treats are for her as well. Just going to move my scissors because the last thing you need is for your shears to be knocked off a table by any creature. So now another place I want to pay really close attention to is right in here behind her ears. It's a high rub area, so it's much easier for cords to start to come back together because they are rubbing together. Hi, Brew. Hi. Oh, she says no kisses. That's evil. Brew, if I throw a treat, will you get out of my way, sweetheart? Yeah? Okay. Here you go. Alrighty. Hmm. And my Australian Shepherd comes running down the stairs because she heard the treat hit the ground. Nani? There you go, baby. Um, when you're doing things like the ears, you always Fred's pretty sure she should just get treats and not grooms. You do have to be really careful. Things like the ear area, they're a lot more delicate, and you do want to be careful that you are not pulling too hard especially near the edge of the ear, because we can exert enough force if we're not careful with this that could potentially rip the ear. And that's the last thing we want to do is cause any of our dogs pain. This is my heart and my soul. This is my baby. I swear I love her more than life itself. So here's one that was trying to join together with another cord. I just want to make sure nothing like that is happening. So I'm just making sure I'm getting right in there and I'm there. Fred, stop. Nani, Nani, they're barking because of you. So if you want to know what set my dogs off, my Australian Shepherd hit her head on my wooden chair, and they were pretty sure that means somebody knocked on the door, and therefore we must bark about it. Um, but there's no one, and no actual real reason to bark. It just sounded like it could be a reason to bark. And I have found that some of my dogs, when they're on the table, they will look for reasons to bark. So oh, cute. She is. She is. She is. Oh, thank you. Now, I did already do this one, but things like the paws, because of their round, because I'm going around a structure, I sometimes miss spots a lot more easily. So I don't know how well it's going to show, but there's a little bit here that's trying to connect between two cords. So I'm just going to make sure that rips so the cords do not try and attach together. As I said, that's the last thing you want. You want to keep them nice and separate. And this is the first step before we go ahead and give her a trim. And the last thing we do, unlike most poodles, you're going to wash them, dry them, then groom them. When you have a corded dog, you're going to groom them. You're going to do all your maintenance work. You can do all of that prior to bathing them because then they just air dry, which for me is the easiest part. But I do find overall keeping a corded dog, once the cording is happening, it's really not that hard to maintain. Um, where are we at? Oh, no. We're only at 583. No more treats until we hit 1,000. Yeah. Get more treats at 1,000 likes. Ready. She is always willing to offer me her paw at any willingness. She's like, yeah, nice to meet you. However, getting the other one, can I have the other one? No. No. Other no, your other paw. So just like humans, dogs are more predominantly left. Can I have this one? This one. Other. Dogs are predominantly left or right pawed. And Fred is very, very, very distinctly a dog that is left paw dominant. So she always chooses to offer her left. If she's walking, her left foot normally goes first. You see it all the time. So I think one of the biggest challenges when it comes to cords, other than trying to make sure that they are staying properly separated, is that when you have a light colored dog like Fred, who is technically a cream, not a white, but a cream, um, anything that gets into those cords, it you can see it. So, like, if I'm going to be grooming her, she's going to be on my table. She's the first dog I grew, because my other dogs are all different colors. I have two silvers, I have a black, and if I groom those guys first, and then they're on the table, and she's on the table after them, that hair can get stuck in her cords if I'm not careful. So I do. There are some extra considerations I do have to take when it comes to a corded dog, because anything in these cords that gets stuck into them, it's there. That's it. There's no getting it out. You can't brush dirt out the way you would with a non-corded poodle. Um, let's see. So some of the things I'm going to look at is whether or not I have a couple of cords that try to join here. So I'm just going to re-separate these ones. I don't because I don't like how big those were at the base. Um, so we're just gonna pull those ones apart. Okay, Fred, lay down. Lay down. Thank you. Can we? There we go. We're gonna do your belly. Can you roll up? No. Come on, Fred. Really? Can we have one side or the other, sweetheart? All right. All right. So she's gonna be down. What I am gonna do is she does have some part that is not corded, and that is just this little very front part right here. And the reason this part is not corded, hi Brew. The reason that's not corded is because she is a show dog, and I do want what's called the bubble on her. And with that bubble, I do want to be able to have it look nice when she's being showed. And that's the whole point of the bubble. But I also want to make sure I have a nice clean line on that. And there's some hair that fell out a bit there. So I am going to grab my Brew. You are not stealing treats from the counter. My cat is so bad some days. So this is, for example, when I say I have bands so I can band them, you can see these little dark points here on some of these cords. I won't let her hurt you, baby. Brew is, you can see because she's on the opposite side from the camera, but Brew is currently treating Fred's cords like there's something to be played with. And so, yeah, part of my job today is to make sure that these areas that aren't cording as nice or places where I want it to be a bit. Guys, I really wish you could see my cat. She is being absolutely ridiculous on the other side right now. So that's where I have things like these really tiny elastics that my cat is thinking that she is now going to play with instead of my dog's cords, which, it is what it is. So I'm just going to put, so in these areas where I have this loose hair that isn't cording, I am going to take my elastics and I'm just going to band it together in a couple of places along the hair to kind of encourage it along. Because while I'm not planning to show her until next year, I would like the cording to be very well formed by that point. So because some of these hairs that I'm dealing with or clumps I'm dealing with are very small areas, I am going to be wrapping the cords fairly tight. Now, the fun part is, of course, eventually, if I'm not very careful, as I'm waiting for them to form, these elastics will get into the cords, and I have to be very careful removing them. Because once again, once things are in the hair, once they're in there, they're in there. Do you want a pillow, baby? Let me get you the fancy pillow. Here we go. Here's the fancy pillow, my love. Head, head, head. No? I mean, ideally, I would have had her facing the camera, but this was the way she chose to lay. And who am I to argue with Fred? Okay. Well, then, come here. Good. Now over here. Turn around. Turn around. Lay down. Lay down. Fred. Down. All the way down. Freddie. Come here. Here's a pillow. Here's a pillow. There we go. Lay your head down, baby. Do you want it higher? Do you want to do it like this? We can do it like this. Pillow. She's like, Mother, I just do not want to be on the table right now. And I apologize for my cat half blocking my dog. As everybody who has cats knows, you can't really control them. Where are we at? Only 583 likes on TikTok. You need to hit 1,000 before you get more treats, my love. That's how that works. Them's the rules. I made them, I know, but you have to follow them. So just going to remove an older elastic here while I fix up an area. So there's obviously been some rubbing here because these hairs up at the top here are very short. And of course, if dogs rub, that does tend to break hair. Fred, can't do this if you keep turning to look at me every 5 seconds. So, and that's one of the things I'm going to put one of the elastics right down at the base. It also shows me as this cords how much tension they'll put on the skin. I want to make sure that it is not putting a lot of tension on the skin. So there's a couple pieces on the side here. Now, this is a pretty thick chunk of hair. The base is a bit wider than I would like, so I'm going to split that into 2 pieces. And I'm going to do the front piece. Fred, you're not helping me. Her point is not to help me. Oh, Brew, you're really in the way. There's nothing here for you, Brew. Brew and Fred are pretty close friends. Fred is not always a fan of Brew's friendship, but Brew seems to think Fred is pretty darn cool and will curl up on top of her sometimes, much to Fred's dismay at that. She does not believe she should be used as a bed by a cat. Well, then put your head further down because you're driving me crazy right now, baby. You'll get a treat. There we go. Thank you. Ma'am, thank you. You are trained better than this. All right, so this piece here, I don't really like. It doesn't go there. I'm going to put another elastic in this. A bag of elastics. It is not food. That's what she keeps looking at. She keeps hearing the bag rattle, and she's pretty sure it's got to be food. But the food, on the other hand, is actually in my pocket. There we go. There we go. That's a bit better. So those pieces go over there. And so if I were to take her into a showering anytime soon, which I'm not, but if I were, obviously anything that still has elastics in it, those elastics would have to be removed. And hopefully, in all good hope, the cords would hold together long enough during the show that I won't embarrass myself too much. All right. That's the thing. I do put more than one set of elastics in. I do want to go partially up the hair as well. It also gives you a better idea of what it looks like. And it gives it 2 points of where you've got that hair clustered together so that it will cord in the way that you would like it to. So, I really hate that on my YouTube feed you can see too much of me. Sorry, baby. So, as I said, we do leave some loose hair on her. There we go. Hi, Shirley. And we do leave this little part up here fluffy. So now we have these little pieces spread down here. You can see that they've grown out some. There's I think you can kind of see on some beads that there are elastics here and here. I'm just going to grab a band remover and just remove some of these older elastics to get them out of the hair. But hopefully, unlike my you would think, I swear I'd put my felt finger. Oh, okay, come on, down. So this top elastic here could use replacing. It's actually getting to the point where we might have been able to just cut the cord just below this elastic, and that way we would be getting rid of it. But I'm going to see if I can pull it out instead. Or as much of this old elastic out as I can. Because what's going to happen is this cord is forming very nicely, minus the fact that there's obviously some areas here of growth that we would like to build into this cord. So we're just going to put a new band in at the bottom. And encourage these little broken hairs to find their way into the cord here. So, I'm gotten very lucky. I do have a good mentor. She does the best she can. She does live several hours away from me, but she took one of her dogs. She courted him, and then she brought him out and showed him to his championship. So yeah, one thing I'm going to do is this is starting to cord really nicely around here. So I'm going to cut it right about there and get rid of all this loose stuff right there because that's going to be a nice cord. So there are some bands in there. I'm going to remove this one too, and I think I'm going to replace this one. So there we go. So that cord's still pretty much not worked right into there, so we're just going to replace it. There we go. We're going to add a nice new elastic at the top there to help get all of this stuff to work its way into the cord the way we want. So, and of course, most poodle people will tell you when it comes to normal banding, you're going to you never really wrap that elastic around the hair more than twice. Obviously, for this case, we do. Okay. So this one's also doing fairly well. But these elastics I currently have in her are a bit older. Not the fact that they've been in her hair long, but they're actually an older elastic. They're not the best. A lot of them break while I'm trying to put them in. And I do have more of these old ones, but I decided I was going to use my newer ones just because I like the contrast as well. It's easier to see. And I do find, of course, a newer elastic, if it does get worked into the cord, when you go to remove it, it's got more tactile strength so that when you pull, rather than just snapping, they usually hold their shape a bit better. Fred, you're not helping me. Yeah, that was not helpful. So, oh, thank you, baby. Oh, do I have more than one elastic here? All right, give me a second. I think I actually had 2 elastics in my hands when I started putting that on. I'm just going to double check. I most certainly did, and now they're tied together, and that's not great. I'm not perfect. I try. My number one concern, of course, is what is always best for my dog, other than the fact, oh, that is not the one I was trying to do. This is the one I was trying to do. And that is what's really important to me, so long as my dog is comfortable and healthy and happy. Minus the fact that they don't like to be groomed, but being the fact that they have to be groomed, she just needs to live with that one. So awesome. So I'm just going to throw that random elastic that I accidentally combined onto the floor, and we're just going to bring this up in a couple spots. I don't think this cord has really formed the way I wanted it to yet, so we can probably take, it's matted to about up here, so we're probably going to get rid of some of the stuff right here and put another elastic in it. So that can go. So to have healthy cords, you do need to keep them cut. You do need to get rid of those frayed ends. Nice elastic right up near the end here. Now I don't want that elastic spread out across the hair because that is not going to make my life any easier. In the long run. So since we do have an event coming up, which is one of the reasons why she's getting groomed again, some of these longer end pieces, well, they don't need to go. They are going to go just to keep her looking nice when I take her out for the Canada Day demonstration. So I don't need her to look straggly, is the word we're going to go for. There's also a few places on her ears that I'm probably going to focus on because those are areas that could use work. Okay, so now what do we got going on? We have some hair here. What cord are we going to put you into? This one? Yeah, that feels like a natural fit. So And that's one of the things is that when you're looking for where these cords need to be, you want to feel what feels like a natural spot for that hair to gather. Because you don't want to be pulling hair across from places that you don't that would create tension. And that tension will not be healthy for the hair. So yeah, part of what you're going to do is you're going to find where do these things naturally fit, like, and you're going to split the hair based on that. So I'm actually going to take this off. I think there's a few more pieces of hair here that I think could go into this cord in particular. Or let's see, actually I might take them to the cord behind it. And then if I had my felting, I would be using my felting needle to help push some of this loose hair into existing cords. So that would be something I'd be doing as well. Hi, baby. Did you hit 1,000? No, nobody's hitting like. Sorry, baby. No treats for you. Nobody loves you besides me. Once again, because we have that event, I'm trying to see any place where there is just loose hair sticking out. Then we're gonna hit those together. There we go. So, and I am of course trying to remove some of these older elastics that are in here and replacing them with newer, nicer elastics. So this one as well, because that loose hair is just there. I want that to go in. I'm gonna band that in before I bathe her. And that's actually gonna also mean I might be able to remove some of these elastics before we hit our event on Canada Day, which is July 1st. But not necessarily. Fred, head. Thank you. Fred, head. Thank you. The other thing I need to do is I need to make sure I shave the underneath of her ear. Any of this fuzzy stuff that's growing in from the underside of her ear does get shaved off because we don't want hair from the underside of her ear merging with what's on top. But there are some areas where there's just loose hair in her ear, and we are going to throw an elastic on those ones as well down near the base to help make sure things are doing what we need them to do. So despite the fact that cording is a natural thing for poodles, hair texture does vary across the dog itself. So sometimes the hair is just a bit too soft and you do need to help those cords along a bit. So should have a claw clip over to keep some of the other cords out of the way while I'm doing stuff. That would have been easier. So this will probably be one of the longer grooming sessions for Fred. Normally I just either shave and then bathe. But today we are definitely want to do a bit more work to get her into the condition that we are looking for an event. All right, so this one actually needs another elastic on it, so we're going to do that. And if we have to take her to this event with all the little extra elastics in it, then that's what we do. It's not a show. It's just to help promote purebred dogs. That one's going to go there. You do have an extra piece down there. And dog sports. So, because not only is Fred a show dog, she is also a sports dog, and we compete in other sports together as well. So, we are going to be we're going to be in Rocky Mountain House with at the invitation of the 4-H canine, and we will be demonstrating some agility and rally while we're in Rocky Mountain House for Canada Day. So if you guys are in the central Alberta area and you want to come out to Rocky Mountain House, do feel free to stop by and see both Fred and Cinder in person. I will be grooming Cinder either later today or early on Monday. I'm not entirely sure yet. So some of this I will worry about a little bit later. This is where two cords came together. I don't like the way they join, so I am going to see if they want to separate. I'm just going to do it very gently because I am near the edge of her ear. And once again, near the edge of the ear is an area where you don't want to be putting a lot of pressure on things. So there we go. See down to the skin now? That's the way I want it. Okay, so that's already looking a little bit better. There's a few other ones in here. So this one has some loose hair in here that can definitely band in. As you can tell, Fred is very, very comfortable on the grooming table. She's already got her championship as a show dog, but she'll be coming back out to be a grand champion, mostly just because I enjoy showing her and she enjoys doing things with me. So I figured, why not? There's another one where I just want to separate it, and there's this little loose hair here that we're gonna tie in. Yeah, tie into this one here. So I think it'll be interesting. I'm sure people will ask me why she has all these black elastics in her when I'm at Rocky Mountain House. But oh yeah, you're fine, my lovey. And there's a bunch down here as well that I know for sure are on the right side of the ear that I can band them. So because I can see where the split clearly is. Um, oh, okay, there it is. I'm like, there's this one little hair from the other band that's trying to get in, and I'm gonna end up doing that one in a second, I think, and putting a second band in that. There we go. And making sure that there's nothing that shouldn't be in there in that. Okay. What is it? Oh, Fred, do you need that more here? Okay. So if you have any questions about poodles, courting, dog shows, dog sports, I'm more than happy to answer any of your questions. Or anything else. All right, so let's go back up here. We're going to look at some of this loose stuff. There's a lot going on here. Okay. Looks like it could be. So you can see I'm feeling the way things pull as I'm doing this, doing the banding, making sure I'm not in a spot that isn't a good spot to connect hair. So should have been with something. So, and some of these loose pieces of hair, you'll notice I split that little clump of loose piece, and I'll decide that some of it does not really work well to go into the cord I'm currently looking at. So the thing is when you are doing cords and you're doing alterations like this, the reason one of the other reasons you do it prior to bathing is because that water will help um, draw the hair tighter together, which is of course what you need. So this is a piece that has one of the older elastics in it. So I'm going to remove that older elastic, and then I'm going to band this little piece of hair down here in. It's not, to me, an ideal piece to go into this, but that's okay. It's not the worst. It's just going to end up creating a slightly flatter looking cord probably in the long run. So Can dogs win a title multiple times? No, you can only win a title once, but there are different levels to each title. So for a championship dog, you can get your regular championship, grand championship, and depending on what kennel club you're participating under, there are things above grand champion and champion or grand champion excellent. I think is one for CKC. There's also grand champion bronze, silver, gold, that sort of thing, which require a certain amount of wins in different disciplines. So, alrighty. But you can only get so far before you run out of titles. And of course, titling dogs is a very expensive hobby. And, some people can only do so much if they don't have the time and money to be able to take part in all of the things. And while I would love to do all of the things with Fred, I am, of course, restricted by the fact that it is just me. If I'm going to an event, I would need to find care for my other dogs, money to be able to stay where I'm going if I'm going far enough away. Of course, entry fees, food, whatnot. So it does get to be very, very expensive to do. I swear that cord just wants to stick straight up on me there. Hi, baby. Would you please? Thank you. So, if you have a dog that doesn't have the best hair for cording, you can, of course, always do things like braiding it. I prefer not to do this if I can help it. Um, Sorry, my Amazon Alexa made a weird sound. I don't know why. There are definitely fun matches and stuff that you can take part in. Most of the big things require, if you want titles, you normally have to be a member of the governing body in some way, be able to get titles anyway. Um, but there are definitely classes and fun matches and sanction mats and stuff like that. So if you know where to look, you can definitely take part in a lot of different things. And with dog sports, so anything that isn't titling in things like conformation, in that case, you can take part with any type of dog, including a non-purebred. Dog sports are not just for purebred dogs. They're for all dogs because the intention of doing sports is to build a bond with your dog. Because let's be honest, a well-trained dog is easier to live with, and working together with your dog as a team does build that bond that you want to have for that kind of training. Um, so, all right. I miss I like the days where I don't have to do quite so much work on Fred. And I'm sure Fred likes it better too. But yeah, if we hit 1,000 likes on TikTok there, then I will definitely get Fred another treat. I'm sure she'd appreciate it. If you guys want to go ahead and hit that like button for her, because Fred thinks food is the best thing in the face of this earth. So she is my little food hound. This is the dog that eats everything. And do feel free if you have any questions, ask away. If you hear me answering a question that you don't see being asked, it's because I am streaming on 2 platforms, so I am keeping an eye on both. So now, if any of you dog groomers out there, you may notice these do not look like normal shears. Well, they do look like normal shears, but they look old, and they are old. These are, you want to use older shears generally when you're doing cords because it's pretty much like cutting non-hair. And it is gonna be a lot harder on your shear blades to be able to, for you to be going through cords. So it's more like cutting through fabric, really. And well, anybody who knows how scissors work, they'll know that, once you start using cords on other thing or scissors on other things, it does dull the blade a lot quicker. So we're almost there, Fred. You almost are at another treat. Lucky, lucky girl. So, oh, there you go. I don't know if you guys can see her nose is already twitching. Good girl. All right, so once again, I did a really bad job wrapping this one with the previous elastic. So it looks like some of this elastic here is just well worked into the cording. So I might not get it out at all. Is that good? Oh, there we go. I think I got that piece there. Okay. Hi. Are you a good girl? She's like, yeah, that was very good. I would like more. Oh, I do love you, my girl. So, if you're wondering, Fred has in fact fallen asleep on the grooming table on me before. While we were at our national specialty, she just was like, it's time for a nap. And so, yeah, she just fell asleep with her head on not even a pillow, but a similar item called the chin rest, which is a little semicircular padded um, place for her to rest her head, but it's attached to a bar instead. So never enough treats. Yes, never enough treats as per Fred. If Fred had her way, she would be fat. She thinks being fat is a very good idea. I do not set a good example, I guess, but that's okay. So we're just gonna keep working our way and trying to get some of this more of this loose hair worked in. So here's a failed cord. So you see how thin that gets there. Like that is just, yeah, that is not good. So you can see it started to mat up here. It did have the right idea, but it did not stick. So I'm just gonna cut that off right below the elastic so I don't have to deal with the old elastic there. And we're actually gonna tilt Fred a little bit and I'm gonna move to the other side of her so that I can see better what I'm doing over there. And that means my elastics and everything are moving with me. Fred might also move with me. And I think I made a terrible misjudgment. It's kind of lunchtime, and I know I have lunch waiting for me in the fridge. Mm. And I'm getting hungry, but I don't really feel like eating on camera. But it might end up happening. I also made a very terrible miscalculation. I can't tell my dogs are used to me moving the table while they're on it. Oh, that was a very good belch, Fred. Very good belch. They're very used to me moving the table around while they're on the grooming table. So, okay. Fred, lay down. Yeah, you're gonna lay down. And I'm gonna get that angle back. And she's like, Mom, I'd like to face you, please. Uh, Head. So I'm gonna head. Thank you, baby. That is not the sound of treats. That is the sound of the elastics bag. Here, not treats. You like that? Still not treats, baby. Oh, Freddie. If I bump my cameras, I'm really sorry. I'm just moving my other feed. And I want to be on the camera with my beautiful face. Still not food, Fred. But you are 2K, so I can give you one more. But you have to put your head, ma'am. Yeah. Could you please lay down? Fred? Fred? Thank you. Can you put your head in the pillow? Pillow. Pillow. I freaking love you. She has this thing where if I point at an object and I tell her about it, she thinks she should put a paw on it. Head. No, not paw. Head. Yeah, that. Yeah, head. No, not. Okay, you earned this one, Fred. That's pretty stinking cute. Pretty stinking cute. But I need to finish your other ear sometime this year, my love. My lovey. Uh, not helping. Not helping, Fred. I love this dog so much. She definitely makes my life a lot more interesting, to say the least. There's no doubt about that. She definitely makes my life more interesting. He okay. Oh, baby. Yes, I did name her after a queen. She is actually named after for Freddie Mercury because her registered name is LaBelle's Killer Queen, with LaBelle being the name of my kennel. And if you think that's a silly name for a kennel, just keep in mind that the kennel is actually named for our foundation girl, which would be the great son, grandson. Fred is grandsire. That's the grandsire of Fred. So apparently my face is not on the camera enough right now, even though it was earlier. Oh, I tell ya, TikTok drives me crazy with that stuff sometimes. And I thought I was on camera enough this time, but that was the quickest I've ever seen that come up. Stop. Thank you. There, that came out pretty good, actually. Fred, in a bit, I promise. So we got one at the base. We're going to grab one a little bit further up here. There we go. And then we're going to trim off some of these fuzzy ends as well. Normally I just do the trimming all at once, but I figure if I'm working with the cords individually, there's no harm in trimming them down as I go. So, oh, Fred. Another elastic right at the tip of this one. Keep it together pretty good. Oh, you're such a good baby. Okay, so then we have all this loose stuff here on the end, and it is too much to be able. So some of this is not going to be a part of this. So there is a line that we should be following. Somehow this piece should not have been in. That goes right down the side of her head. And that line is where the difference between what's corded and what is not corded goes. And that stuff forms what's called the bubble on the front of the show trim. So, and I just realized I was going to plug my phone in and the charger's plugged in, but the charger's not plugged into my cell phone, which is not the brightest move on my half. Because, my phone's getting old and, it's really not ideal. Okay, 2.6 right now, baby. You're doing good. That's a lot of extra elastic. It's kind of skinnier at the top, so I'm going to maybe try and get an extra wrap or two in here. Maybe just one. Okay. And then outside, I'm trying to get rid of some of these little fuzzy pieces. Yeah, those are the scissors, baby. And yes, I am just dropping the hair directly onto the floor because where the heck else is it going to go? I mean, come on now. I'm grooming, and I will sweep up when I'm all done. So Now, it was just last week I did a really good trim up on her, I believe, or was it the week before? And I just lost my elastic. Um, and so most of her cords don't need much other than some loose hair trimming that I might do in preparation for the event on Canada Day, July 1st. So that can go part of the other cord. Yeah. Awesome. And we just want to get her looking neat and tidy and better on top of her head. Oh, you're getting more likes. You're going to get another TREAT soon. Dog is too smart for her own good. I can't say the word without her thinking she is getting one for sure at that moment. Okay. So I'm just going to create a stub end there. There we go. So we have a few more loose areas where there's some broken hairs here, but I think we've hit the point where we've taken care of all of um all the old elastics that were in her top knot. So this end at the bottom, get some of those loose hairs that were broken into this cord. Uh, it's gonna go that way, and some more loose hairs down here. I think those ones are gonna go to that cord. So this one's doing good, but it's very loose at the base here. Don't know how well we can see that. So you can see how nice and tight that is, but you can see how it widens down here near the base. And I could get my fingers through it. So she's definitely struggling with the cording on her top knot. And part of it is I just might need to do better maintenance. Could you show her with cords, or is that no? You can show her with cords. Cording was part of the standard before brush out styles ever were, and you just don't see it very much anymore simply because you have to go through a pretty good ugly stage. A pretty good ugly stage to get them into cords where they just look neglected. And most people aren't willing to deal with that. And not to mention the fact that you also have to, you can't cord them until they're adults. That adult coat needs to be in, or at least coming in, before you begin the cording process, because you cannot cord the puppy coat. So, water. It's water. Don't look so offended. Um, it is such a cool look, and it's one I've personally fallen in love with. And I think on the right dog, it is a great look. Uh, so noticing a few other places where there's some broken hair that I just want to get worked into some of these existing cords still we start, before I flip her onto her side and start checking out how her belly is doing. Uh, Honestly, the process is not very much a table process to get started for courting. Um, and you spend dogs that are not corded, the ones that are in a brushed out trim, actually spend way more time on the table than Fred ever does. It's a lot more work to keep a dog in a long brushed out show coat than it is to keep them in cords, I find. And of course, that once again, that's just probably could be because I'm in a drier climate. It's a lot easier to keep the cords. I know a lot of people say it's really hard. But most of the people I know who have been courting their dogs, the hardest part is if you have a light colored dog, keeping them nice and clean. So awesome. So now we're gonna check into this ear here. Um, Fred is being a very good girl for me, and I quite appreciate it. But Fred is usually a pretty good girl for me. Just gonna throw an extra elastic in here. And of course, the tighter the cords get, the rounder they get. And that's also why more mature cords tend to look better. No. And once again, I'm just double checking. Her ears did start cording really well, but they are a little bit more to maintain the cords on them, just because the hair does have this tendency to be a bit softer in here, especially if she has been rubbing it all, which she's not normally big on rubbing, or if I didn't do a really great job separating the hair. Um, But yeah, this is normally not a big part of the grooming process or the maintenance process for cords, but it can help them along and make the process a little bit easier to do. So, one thing I'm looking at here is once again, I'm trying to make sure that at the base I am seeing the skin at the base of the cord. So that is something we want to be able to see. And when you're near the edge of that ear, like I am right now, you do want to be, of course, very careful about what's going on with that. Do feel free to ask questions, people. I do like answering questions, and it also gives me something to talk about. I did not do an ideal job banding this one. I feel like I got too close to the edge of there, so I'm just gonna pull it up a bit. I'm not gonna cut it. I'm not gonna use this to cut it like I normally do. I'm just gonna pull that elastic up a bit from where it landed at the base. Okay. To support the young athletes of Central Alberta, nominate your. There we go. There we go. That's where I wanted you. Whew. Brad. Hi. Head down. We're not at 3,000 yet. No. Alrighty. This is probably the most tedious part of me wanting to, ramp up her courting process is just, this, what I'm doing right now, and just double checking for where those loose hairs are, where things are trying to go attached together, where they should not be attached together. Ow, that did not feel kind. I just snapped that elastic back at myself. Hey, Gwen. Don't even start barking when I say that. That's first. Fred, thank you. Got another cord on this one. Another elastic on this one. Get her done. Oh, awesome. All right. Do feel free. Ask as many questions as you like. There's only so much talking I can do about the exact thing I'm doing, which is the same thing for a little bit here until I get all these loose and or broken hairs worked into some of these where I want some of these cords to be. So Oh, this is actually one of the ones that has an old elastic in it. I just can't even see the old elastic that well. So just gonna remove it. And this is one that, yeah, that you want to make sure that when you're putting these elastics in, that they don't spread out along the hair or along the cord, because then they're more likely to get worked into it. That is what I have found. So I saw you there, Lizzie. I don't know if you're still watching, but I saw you. And we're just gonna take tip off of that one too. So this one has a little piece here that looks like it joined in with this larger cord. Think I would have preferred if this were 2 cords, but it is what it is. And I'm just going to take that little loose piece off so it doesn't look like it's a giant loose piece. All right. All right. These are 2 cords that are separate. And I think I actually want to make them into 1 cord. I don't like how they look separate. I feel like they're not very strong. Like this. So I feel like these 2 need to go in together. I feel like they may have started that way at one point. Yeah, it'll keep growing like human hair if you don't cut it. It is hair, it is not fur. So it will just keep growing. It will, of course, break and fall out in the way that human hair does as well. So if you get a poodle because you're like, oh, there'll be no hair whatsoever in my house, more or less true. More or less true. But much like humans, we don't consider humans shedders, but yeah, kind of do. In our own weird little human way. Now here I am, just taking a look at what's going on down here. So some of these broken hairs are simply caused because that is where I've pulled some cords apart that we're trying to join. So there's new hair growing up or hair that broke, and I'm just trying to get that worked in here. And sometimes when these cords fall, they bring in hair from somewhere they're not supposed to, like that one. Um, no, I heard it too, but no. Frankie! Frankie! Frank! Okay. Itchy! Ma'am! Frank! Welcome to the chaos part of the journey. Frankie, what do you think you're doing? Oh, get up here. Come on. Thank you. Lay back, Frank. That's enough. Frank, come on. Lay down. We're not done. Frank, that is enough. Let's come get your dog. I'm just joking. Frank, come on. Come on. Come on. Frank, leave it. Frankie, that is enough of that. That's right. You go back to your kennel. All right, here we go again. No, you haven't made it to 3,000 likes. When you make it to the 3,000 likes, then you get another one. Hungry, 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 Freddy. Freddy. right? Anybody who thinks humans don't shed at all, yeah, they've clearly never cleaned out a shower drain. So, all right. So in here, it doesn't look like it's split properly in a spot. So just seeing what's going on here. And I want to make sure, I want to see that split better. Okay. There's still some more loose hair up here. This one can go into this. But I think we're getting to the point where most of these loose and little broken pieces have been encouraged into another cord. So if you are asking questions and I'm missing it, do feel free to ask again. Especially on TikTok, sometimes that chat goes by really fast and I just don't catch everything. Especially since generally my focus is on my dog. So, generally, this one down here, there's just this little hair. So I can't find the felty needle. We're just going to put a little band there and encourage that in. So there's another little piece in here where there's some loose hair that goes into one of these cords, and it's just figuring out what cords these little loose hairs go into. And then encouraging them into that particular cord. And so I'm not as worried about what's going on with some of the little fuzzies in here. Most of these fuzzies have started to incorporate and they're not quite as bad and or as soft as what was going on up here. But I am going to finish going through this ear. There are a few more other pieces here that could use some encouragement into cords. Because that hair is a lot softer here, and I just want to make sure everything, of course, is splitting in a way that when I go to look, I can see. I'm okay with those two merging the way they are. That does not bother me. That looks okay, and it's not creating undue pull. So, so there we go. That one, and once again, I want to double check those high trafficked areas like behind the ear where the cords are more likely to rub together and potentially attempt to join together in a way that we do not want. So I want to make sure that I am getting right in there and looking at those cords. That one's a bit bigger than I like, but that's okay. A little too late in the process to fix that. It is a very tight cord. It's a nice mature cord, but a little wider than I want. So, oh, Fred, you've stopped getting the legs. Oop, there's one that's trying to join together. So I'm just gonna make sure that's splitting all the way down to the skin again. Okay, and the other places that I really want to look at, encouraging with some banding is at the very back of her jacket as well as on her bracelets. Well, most of her bracelets have split pretty good, and we'll be trimming those back in a bit. Some of the spots on her bracelets are not so great. So that is definitely considerations as we're doing this. Okay. Wait, Fred. So, Fred. Hi, Fred. So we're just gonna put our Fred. We're going on your side. Thank you. Yes, that one. Thank you, baby. So this is the easiest way for me to go under here and make sure that all these cords that are underneath her are not too big because they're a little bit harder to see, and I mostly just split them by feel. And they tend to stay really short, so I'm not overly concerned about how good they look or if there's any loose hair because these will get trimmed fairly short as to so that they are not too long underneath her because she's not a very tall dog. And the last thing we want is for her to look even shorter. When did you start courting on your Popsicle? I started about a year ago now. Um, and unfortunately, I haven't been as up on the maintenance as I should have been. So it could look better at this point, and that is entirely on me that it does not look better. That is 100% on me. So these cords could be tighter, they could be a lot more mature in some areas. Um, and I accept that responsibility. But yeah, just about a year ago, it wasn't horribly long that I started them after one of my good friends passed. So and because that was when I first took Fred's mustache off was then and um it wasn't too much longer after that point where I decided I was going to give courting a shot. So some well, since she's down like this, I'm gonna take a look and see what um is going on with some of her bracelet here. And I think most of the areas where it's not quite forming the cords the way I want are closer to in the front of her bracelets. And either elastics are under here. And then I know you had another question because there was an end and I missed it. So do feel free to re-ask if I missed the question. So I'm just gonna put a little elastic down in here at the base. This one. And then sure not. I did a terrible time. Yeah, Fred does like to just Fred is very good about jumping on the table. She is the only one who is more than willing to jump on my table on asking. Can't say any of my other dogs are too excited to do that, so Mhm. So here's some more back here that are not courting the way I want, and that seems like a good grouping. And so once this is all done, for those who weren't in here earlier, you do all your maintenance prior to bathing because bathing is getting them wet is what helps those cords hold together. So um, any prep work you want, if you want things tightened up afterwards, you do the prep first. So that means we are going to be taking her bracelet shorter because, as I said, these cords are starting to form, and we would like it to look a bit neater when we go to our event on Canada Day there. So I think having this banded is going to help me visualize better the areas that haven't fully corded. I'll be able to see it a little bit better. And Red is definitely very, very chill. Very, very chill on my table. As you can see, I'm just going to give my camera a bit tilt, so it's a bit shaky for a second. She's quite happy here. No issues at all. Other than she would really like it if I scratched her belly as I was doing this. So, I think the cords are a lot of fun. I think it's a really cool look. Like I've had this many watchers on TikTok live before, so that's kind of cool. Thank you everybody for joining. I really do appreciate it. If one of them does get too big, I could try to chop it in half. It does ruin the integrity of the cord, but I should have been, if that's the case, I should be on top of it from the beginning and make sure I'm properly splitting these cords so that they are not too big. So that would be a failure as her groomer to let it get big enough to be damaging or big enough that it's not going to look good. The variety of cords does add a little bit of visual interest. And all the cords are not going to look the same no matter what you do. They're all going to be different sizes, and in some areas you do want them to be slightly smaller. Some areas it's okay if they're bigger cords. If you guys give likes, Fred gets more of the nummies. So, and Fred very much likes her nummies. No, I'm going to play with that more when she's standing up so I can see what's going on. But this position does allow me some nice access to her back foot and some of the harder to reach cords when she is not being cooperative with me. Oh, she's got a lot of cracks in her bracelets right now. That'll be fun to wash out. Because generally when the cords are forming, they're still pretty loose at the beginning of when they're not a mature cord. If you let them get to be a mature cord and they're too big, that is definitely not ideal. Until they're mature, they're very easy to separate by hand. So, which is what you see me doing right now, where I see areas where it looks like it's clumped together a little bit too much. I don't like it. I don't think it's a good spot for it to be together, so. Welcome everybody to watching me groom Fred. Well, technically, on the ones I'm doing right now, I probably don't really need band. I'm putting a band on them just because I don't like how fuzzy and loose they are at the bottom. I do want to tighten them up down there. So, and if we want to do that quicker, I'm going to throw a band on there to create that friction. And this is why we change standard Poodle bands on brush out coats very often, because those elastics create friction. And if you see me pulling hair in multiple directions, it's because I want to make sure it is clear from being joined with other cords in multiple directions. We do not want that pull in any direction. We want to be able to see skin, all sides of a cord. And then there's something weird going on at the top of this one here, so I'm not too sure what the deal is there. So I'm just gonna pull apart it in places where it feels natural to pull them apart and make sure nothing is happening that I do not want to happen with these cords in the long run. Hey, baby.
Need a little help stirring up the conversation?
Yes.
We got your back with the daily news from Central Alberta Online.
Awesome. You did that.
We'll make sure you get all the important stuff about our community delivered right to your inbox. Become the family news anchor. Today's headlines. Subscribe now and make Grandma proud. The daily news from CentralAlbertaOnline.com. Just got up.
Where are we at? Here we go. I'm like, there's a spot here where this needs to separate more. And I do try and stay on top of separating. Frank, do not. I do try and stay on top of separating these, but Frankie, I hear you. My neighbors have guests. They're allowed to have guests, Frank. Awesome. So I'm just gonna move my shears off here because we're not doing anything with these bracelets just yet. Now we're gonna come in here. Her tail's been a real challenge for me. As I said, it started courting and doing its thing in a way that wasn't the greatest. It was trying to wrap itself around, so it's taken a lot more work to try and get her tail in a way that works, and it keeps trying to go back because when you do pull the hair apart like that, it does cause some damage to the hair. And of course, that damage causes fraying. And when there's fraying, then that can join up with other things. So
Plated rhodium jewelry with a lifetime replacement guarantee since 1983. Over 250 styles of chains.
you do have to shorten some of these cords that are at the end of her tail. She has a natural tail, so sometimes we just do not want to add extra length. And in this case, this would be one of those cases. We don't want to add more length, but there is a lot of loose hair on here just because of having to pull those cords apart more often on her tail.
Chill, even your jewelry.
um, she's looking so zen right now. Yeah, she's just like, whatever. This is what's happening. This is my life. I'm a good poodle. Look at me. You guys can't really see her face on TikTok, so mostly that's it. That's it. She's just chill. She's very chill. She's very much accepting of the process that is the grooming within her life. I think she prefers this to being brushed at least. Um, I'm pretty sure she does. She was never a big fan of having to be brushed out because it's very prone to matting, which is one of the reasons why she was a good candidate to do the cords on. So she would mat as soon as you looked at her, pretty much. So um, yeah, sorry, baby, not enough love yet for you to get another treat, but we'll get there. We'll get there. The one place you really don't want any of these cords really is within the skin of the armpit. So she's actually shaved pretty well right underneath there. Um, Hi, baby. Yes. Belly scratches. Oh, we love our scratches. Yes, we do. Okay. So I'm just going to turn her around here. And you guys get the butt view. I'm sorry. Here, Fred. That way. Thank you. And back down we go. Down. Thank you. Yes, she is very used to this. She's used to my weird ways of grooming, and she just flows with it. She's a very good dog. I can't do that with most dogs. She's definitely one of the few that just lets me go. Here you go. I'm pushing you over this way. I'm gonna manhandle you this way. She's just so good about me doing these things with her. And I love that. So she's got some loose hair down in here that hasn't bothered to cord. This will be hidden anyways, the stuff in here. This will be hidden by the fall of her cords, so it's not as big of a deal. Not too worried about it. But I think we've gone through most of the danger areas. It's just this tail, which I think I'm gonna have to take some elastics to really get it to look a lot better than it currently does. Um, and hopefully, eventually, this tail will not be quite as much of a challenge. I just realized TikTok, you can't see what I'm doing with her tail. So here I am, over here. So this tail, I said, it has been a challenge. I did not stay on top of splitting it right away as the mat's created to create those cords. So I'm just gonna do a little bit of places where I'm gonna just kind of encourage it along a bit more, and hopefully, eventually the tail will be a lot easier to maintain on her. Um, this is the first dog I've ever courted, so And I just was very lucky to have a very good mentor to help me with this, one that I've been able to see occasionally. Um, and that does make a really big difference for someone like me, who really likes, to have that hands-on experience and to really have things shown and explained to them when they're trying to learn how to do something. While I will take chances on many things, anything where I think I might really do damage to my dog, I'm not going to take any chances because I know done wrong, I'll just end up having to shave my dog right down. I guess it's not permanent. So, in that way, it is only hair. It can be, it can be changed. So, and all it takes is a little bit of a shave. Okay, I need your butt this way. Thank you. Yes, thank you. You're a good girl. Well, you're still at 2.6. People aren't hitting like enough. They're just not. You'll get more treats, I promise. So then we have some of these little cords like this. I'm not gonna play with them too much, but there is some broken hairs down here that I think can join in with that, and I'm just gonna find out where my elastics went. And then that way, hopefully that'll encourage these together after I throw her in the bath. So
2 pounds tonight and the low of 8. Tomorrow a mix of sun and Tuesday.
and once I'm done with this, and I can shave her pattern back in, then we can throw her in the bath. And that's the end of the process because after that, she just gets air dried in her little special microfiber robe that I hate touching because, yeah, microfiber, gross. Literally, microfiber, gross. So, this little piece in here, I'm going to purge that piece over into this cord here. And then I'm going to end up where I can. I'm going to try and trim some of the fuzzies off. But my big thing is I want to try and get this tail a little bit more cohesive before she hops in a bath or I do any trimming as well. So I do want her to look really good when I take her out for a demonstration dog in Rocky Mountain House. So, and part of that is making sure that's her stud tail, baby. Not too bad. So some more loose stuff. I'm just gonna bring that up into this one here. That seems like the appropriate cord. Put that loose stuff in. And second cord up here near the top. I'm trying to encourage these to mature a little bit more quickly. Because I do like the shape of the rounder cords over the flatter ones, but a part of it is maturing a bit as well. So there we go. This is how we get a party poodle. We put the black in. I'm just joking. So just gonna get these one at the bottom, one at the top. That way. Yes, it is Fred. So, let's see where else we got some loose hair down in here that we would like to bring into some of these cords. So, let's see. So, I think that would go best with probably the way her tail lies, this cord here. So we're gonna put an elastic in there. Pardon me, my face was a bit itchy there. Oh, yeah. Dyed cords are really cool. But because I want to take Fred back out into the CKC show ring, I cannot dye her cords. Unfortunately. Oh, thanks for those likes. You're getting Fred much closer to having another treat, which is what she lives for. So just trying to figure out exactly. That should probably go into this one, I think. There we go. Trying to figure out where these loose hairs need to be encouraged to go into so that we can tidy up these cords and have her look good, look her best going forward. I really wish I could dye her cords. I mean, I've got a while to go, but cords take a lot longer to grow, so I'm still a bit nervous about doing anything like even dyeing the tips of her cords, knowing I'd have to cut that off before I could take her into a show ring again. Um, yes, I am just kind of shaking my dog. Oh, well, that should have gone into that cord too, I think. Oh, great. Well, take those elastics out now. Do you leave those in or can you remove later? The elastics I can remove later. And in fact, if you were on here earlier, I was removing the old elastics I had in her top knot and putting in new ones. And you just have to be a little bit careful with putting them in. You don't want any gapping between the hair and the elastic. So you do want to put them in like you would bands on any other dog because you want, if you have that gapping, if you have that elastic not all gathered together, it does tend to get worked into the cord a bit easier by the hair. She's not a poor puppy. She's literally napping right now while I put the cord, while I fix up some of the loose hair on her cords. She is absolutely spoiled rotten, this one. Anybody who has met her in real life will know she is spoiled, absolutely rotten. She just also happens to be a corded poodle, which a lot of people don't see very often, so they don't understand all the time what they're looking at when it comes to a corded dog. There we go. That one goes there. So just gonna take care of all this hair there. Um, She is very, very good on the grooming table and will just often have a nap while I'm doing work. And you all get the butt end of her because I am doing her tail right now. And Fred does tend to get fans wherever she goes just because she is a very personal bulldog. Um, Or as my best friend and co-breeder often says, she's got fans because, I spend so much time with her and make her interesting and do things with her, which is also true. She really is just she's the dog that just I do things with. She likes to be with me. She likes to do things with me. I absolutely adore her mother. However, her mother is not exactly the dog that wants to do things with me or go anywhere. She would much rather be allowed to sleep all day long on the couch and only get up to chase things because she has a lot of prey drive. So, yeah. So, if you're not used to seeing cords, a lot of people do think she is just plain matted, which, in a sense, yes, matting is a type of uh, cording is a type of mat, but matting is not cording. Matting causes pull and stress against the skin. It is very uncomfortable. It is very painful for dogs, which is why your groomer will yell at you to brush your dog. Please, people, brush your dang dogs. Um, and I, every time I get near the end of her tail, she's like, "No, thank you. No, thank you. Please put the tail down, Mama." Um, so your groomer will tell you to brush your dog, and you should. Um, Something like this is kind of the exception. Really, I did it again. Does that hair go anywhere else? No, it definitely goes into that cord. Really? All that work and now I have to take more off? Oh, she hit 3,000. Oh, yes, Fred, that was the sound of me reaching for a treat. Oh, she knows that sound well. So this is me just trying to make sure I cement these cords in a bit better. So next one's at 4,000 for your next one, Fred. Yeah, corded dogs are definitely not something the general public is as familiar with. I mean, some people, if they think about a corded dog, they think of something like a pulley, even if they don't know what the name of it is. Oh, there it is. No, that wasn't me. It wasn't me reaching for another one, Lovey. Yeah. The one thing Fred loves more in this life than me is food. I'm sure Fred would abandon me in a heartbeat for really good food. Actually, not even really good food. I think she'd abandon me for bad food too. She doesn't care. It's food. She's not that picky of a dog. She likes to eat. Um, she really does like to eat. So there we go. I think I'm done screwing that cord up now. Ugh. Yeah, there are a lot of breeds that you can cord and you don't typically see them in cords. And if you do, it is definitely not something you are likely to forget anytime soon. So we still have some more random loose hairs in here that I do want to get tied into other cords or perhaps even encouraged into a cord of their own. For this case, it looks like there may be enough to combine with that guy there, except for a couple of pieces which are going to separate out. So I am being very careful to make sure that I am looking to see where the hair would fall naturally and what they fit into the best. So I want to make sure that I am not pulling hair from too far away and creating tension across the skin. That is definitely the last thing you want to do. The last thing I ever want to do is create discomfort for any of my dogs, beyond the moderate discomfort of having to be groomed. To which, if we get enough likes, then she gets, food because Fred likes food. Which for most of my dogs, except for Fred's mom will sometimes take treats, sometimes not. Really depends on her mood. If she does not like, if she feels the least bit stressed about things, she will not take food that one. Um, but Fred does not have that issue. Fred will always take food. Me too, Fred. Me too. Yeah, unfortunately, me too. I love food as well. In fact, I'm really looking forward to dinner tonight. I have a little steak that's dry curing in my fridge right now that I'm going to be throwing on the barbecue with some corn on the cob and probably I think I'm going to do sauteed veggies, some zucchini, peppers, and onions to serve with that. I haven't 100% made up my mind, but I think that's what I'm going to do. So I don't like how tiny this cord is, but I also want to be careful that we do not have hair wrapping around her tail and pulling tight from other sides of her tail. We want to be very careful about that, especially on the tail. You do want to keep a close eye on what's going on there with the cords at the end of the tail. Because if that hair is pulling from around the entire tail, that kind of stress can be bad if you let it get that way. Tails are definitely sensitive, and you guys are going to get a much better view of her soon because we are almost done taking care of all the loose hair that was hanging out in her tail to try and get a nicer looking tail in the long run here. So sign me up. Yeah, hey, it's a good dinner. I actually was lucky to have found steaks on sale. I'll be perfectly honest, they are probably not the best steaks. They're a little on the thinner side than what I would like to see. And so I'm right at the very tip of her tail. So what you're seeing there, that is the end of her tail. So she does have a couple of cords that come off the end here. And I'm just going to make sure that we're not having any issues. I'm going to have some smaller cords here at the end just to be doubly sure that we're not having any issues with hair wrappage. So, and some of these cords may get trimmed shorter because she has, as I said, she has a natural tail. I am in Canada, for those who don't know. And in many parts of Canada, docking is rather frowned upon, or in a couple of provinces, outright illegal. So she is one of my undocked dogs. Everybody else I have here, I do believe. No, one of my other dogs here is not docked. Okay. Where do you belong? Here. Sorry, it's found a little hair that was worked into a cord where it should not have been. So, because I don't want hair pulling from areas from. It is not a doodle. This is a purebred standard poodle. Who just happens to be corded. So that's kind of doodle. Poodle mixed with an actual poodle. All right, Fred, stand up. Come on, Fred, up. Thank you, baby. All right. So we're just gonna fix some of my camera angles here so you guys get a little seasick, I guess. We're gonna move back. There we go. So YouTube can see. I'm gonna take a look at what we're doing here. I want those sticking straight out with her bracelets. That is my next point of issue, is that yes, it is cording, but there's parts of it that aren't cording quite the way I would like. So, so it's a couple of these, it looks like I put the elastics just a little bit too close to the skin, which is why they're sticking straight out. We don't really want them to stick straight out. So I'm just gonna use my little, what's normally my little cutter, and I'm just going to use the tip of it to pull those cords down a bit and away from where they currently are. So Fred is definitely what many would say is my special baby. Or maybe it's just me that says that, but she is my special baby. I'm going to pull that out, and I'm going to put that could just be by itself there. I'm just going to grab some of these things where it's just cording it the way I want it to or need it to. We're going to get those together. Are there rules to cording and show ring? Not really. I mean, other than if they still have to be in a in one of the required trims. But other than that, I've seen cords to me that do not look good on the poodle because they're left super long and very heavy. And other than that, I do believe it needs to be fully corded. It is just a way of styling the hair. I did, producer. Yes, I did make this thing. I made this thing. Well, not really. I mean, my old girl made this thing along with her stud. I just had to be a part of the process. So, it looks like most of the rest of this, except for right down at the bottom, is pretty okay. Which I'm okay with that. I'm just gonna take a look. So yeah, it looks like the rest of this is cording up beautifully, minus a few little things that I'm not as concerned about. So I'm going to do the same thing on this other side here. We're going to make sure that things are cording properly. So, but yeah, she is from my very first litter that I ever bred. And I still have her mother too. Her mother's with us. Her mother is Treble. She is my black standard poodle, and she is currently curled up on the couch, ignoring everything else that is happening. You won't even hear her bark because she generally just doesn't get involved with the other dog's shenanigans. It says she has She has two things she loves to do: sleep on the couch and chase things. So she loved doing chaseability as a sport. So that is one of her favorite things. Fred did not inherit her prey drive. So when Fred does chasing sports, she has to be running for mama. Otherwise, she is not running for mama. I tried coursing with her mom. Treble thought she'd be a clever, clever girl and thinks she can outsmart the lure. Unfortunately, when she tries to outsmart the lure, she loses it. And that does not work so well for lure coursing. So. So Fred gets to do sprinters where she can see me nice and clearly at the finish line waiting for her. Treble does not care if I'm there at all. Anyone could be catching Treble at the end of a chase at the end of a sprinters event. All she's focused on is whether or not she's going to get that bag. That is her goal in life, to get that bag. And she will actually give it a good grab too. So lots of my scissors, her bracelets. I wasn't trying to do a really neat job. I was just trying to keep them from dragging in the mud because they were getting very long while I was waiting for them to cord. And so they're a little uneven in parts.
Easier for you. They're always here to
All right.
help.
So if you see pieces sticking out right now, yeah, that's why. The dog is so chill. She is pretty chill unless you mess. Oh, geesh, geesh. We're almost there. Yeah, you're earning this, baby. Yeah, unless I'm asking her to be crazy. She's normally a really easygoing dog. She likes to sleep just as much as I do, and if there's food involved, she is a very happy little girl. So, oh, itchy eyeball. Okay. You keep forgetting that she's so little. I know. She is such a little girl. And I love that about her. I love that she is not a really big dog. So, and I guess if you're courting the poodle or any dog, or especially with a poodle, like you do want to make sure the cords are suitable for the size. Hey, Ren. Freddie likes to sleep on my yes. Well, she doesn't like to sleep on my head, but she likes to lay on it. Because I can't ignore her if she's on my head. Alright, so I think for most of the stuff that just wasn't quite going, I'll leave those together. In terms of her cords, it looks like we are good now. Everything else except for a little bit down by her pastern here, is pretty good. Not too sure what to do about that, so I'm just gonna leave that for now. And you guys get the button view again. Yay. Fred, up, stand. Fred, stand. Come on, stand up. Thank you. And we're gonna check on these back bracelets now. Fred, Fred, Fred. Thank you. Crazy girl. I love this dog so much. Like, love all my dogs so freaking much. They're amazing. Sometimes they drive me crazy. Sometimes, I don't know. Sometimes, sometimes I threaten Frank that I'm going to send her home back to her mom in Saskatchewan. But at the same time, then she jumps up and she tries to choke me out with her love, pressing her head against my throat. And I'm just like, you know what? I love you. I really, I'm never going to send you, I'm not going to send you away unless your mom asks for you back. Because, I would never deny that. But she's a funny girl, Frank. Personality. Whoa, there's a whole other conversation going on over there. How tiny she was when she was a newborn. Yeah. She was a Trevor's litter were all very small puppies, but I have pictures of this dog and she fit in the palm of my hand when she was born. She was like this big. This big. Maybe smaller than that. I'm not sure. She was not a very big girl when she was born. And it was really, really adorable. But she was, surprisingly, not even the smallest puppy in that litter. So once again, I found when I was doing this while she was lying down, I definitely put this elastic here too close to her skin. I don't like the way it's sticking out. I'm gonna have to remove the elastic and redo it, or just try and loosen it away. So I mean, so shockingly, as tiny as she was not our smallest litter, or the smallest puppy in our litter. She actually had a couple brothers who were a bit smaller than her. She had quite a few that were bigger, so that's a good size for there. So I'm just gonna be a little extra careful here. I don't want any too much pulling here either. So I do want to be careful where I'm putting these elastics and what I'm grouping together. So yeah, this is a corded poodle. This is part of the process. These are all very separate. You can see it all the way down to the skin, which is very, very important to know that it is not pulling on them. So you want to very much, which is why I'm a little bit careful with what I group together, because I do not want to group anything together that is from too far away, because I don't want anything to pull on her skin. She is a very, very, very happy dog. Especially if we're almost at time for you to get another treat, Fred. Look at that. Here it comes. Oh, Fred. Anything for the foods. I really wish I could dye her cords. It would be amazing. I loved it when I had dyed the tip of her tail. It was bright blue and purple. It was so much fun. So much fun. It is not torture. This is just standard grooming. It's like saying a Commodore or a Pulley. It's torture for them to be in a natural groom. This is a natural style for them. So unless you think dogs should never ever be groomed, and be allowed to be a matted, disgusting, and horrible mess, that would be torturous. The fact that I groom my dog on a regular is not torture. It is a necessity. And if you cannot handle the fact that dogs require grooming, especially a hair breed, and especially including breeds that are intended to be corded, like poodles, yeah. But it is fine. Fred is a very, very happy girl and enjoys sleeping, eating, and being with me doing sports. So we'll leave those ones being smaller. There we go. There we go. And decline. No. Sorry, not unless I actually know you and you are a dog person. I am not going to grant you co-host abilities here. That is just that. I have no idea who that person was that asked. So, yeah. Yeah, it's not torture. It is just a natural grooming style for the dog. So, and all I'm doing right now is a little bit of maintenance to make sure that it is in the way that it should be, not causing there's no hair that's pulling from where it shouldn't, and that all her cords are combining in a way that works well. So the elastics are just to help to encourage it, For most of the times when you groom something like a standard poodle, you are actually going to be bathing and everything and doing all that stuff before you do major grooming. This style is different in that you bathe them after the fact. Um, and the reason I like to do this online is like, yes, people do not see corded poodles very often. They don't understand what they're looking at, and they need to learn somehow. And of course, if they're not willing to learn, well, then definitely a standard poodle is not going to be the dog for you. Yeah, I will be in Rocky Mountain House for Canada Day. I will be there doing a demonstration with the Kena as a favor for my friend. She is a leader for the Canine 4-H, and she typically teaches rally obedience. So we are going to be there. We're going to have a little rally set up that people can try, and a small mini agility setup as well, and talking about how dog sports are a very good bonding activity for you and your dog. All right, can you go over here a bit? Can you go this way a bit? I can't see your other leg. I need to see it better. Thanks, baby. There we go. So, as you can tell, my dog is very used to being handled. It is a very common event for her. So, yeah. I don't like how some of this is working on her hops. I'm always worried there's some looser skin in here that I don't want really to be pulled on. Rally, I definitely say it's a great way to get into dog sports, and obedience type dog sports, because it is a very different requirement. And it's very more engaging for your dog. You're working together, you're talking to your dog, you're communicating with them. Um, and it's just generally a really great experience to do. You should get involved in rally. You know what? Even in CKC for Canada and AKC in the US, the competition, the sporting events are open to both. To Wow. Open to both purebreds and non-purebred dogs. Getting involved in sports is a great way to learn more about, doing things with your dog, which is just so much fun. So, scent detection. Fred has her novice scent detection already. We did our first time out, and she got it no problem. She's very, very good at it. And we've been working on our second scent so that she can move up to the next level. Though my competition has been, my competition timing has been delayed due to the fun of Fred. Turn around this way. Turn around. Come here. Come. Turn around. Over here. Over here. Thank you. Yeah. I guess you can have another treat. Thank you, baby. Due to the fact that I have been out of a job for a few months, so unfortunately that means I wasn't spending my money on dog sports, which sucks for me, but that's okay. But just one more elastic back here, okay? That way, when I go and take you into the bath, we'll start getting those cords forming a bit better. So there we go. Okay. So I think we're pretty good. There's a few places on right near the back of what's called her jacket that I do want to do. And then I'm going to get her pattern shaved in and trim up some of the fuzzy ends on her cords as well, so that we can be ready for showing her off. And no, she's not uncomfortable. She'd be happier if she was getting more treats, but she's not uncomfortable. It's a natural hairstyle called cording. And you can see right down to the skin around each and every cord. So you can see right down to the skin where the cords meet. So as long as you're able to see right down to the skin, that's how you know that it's not pulling on the dog. If you want more treats, tell people to give you more likes. She's like, Mom, I am not working for my food today. Just give me the food. So, yeah, you would know if she were uncomfortable, but it is definitely not something you see very often, especially in poodles. But there are some breeds that are it's an elastic. It's not food. I promise you. The elastic, Fred. I'm starting to think these streams are good cat entertainment. Each stream, Una, all your cats watching at least during part of every time I stream. That's awesome. I love it. Ah. Yeah, if she was uncomfortable, if she really didn't like this, she's more than free to get off my table, as she has already done at one point today, because interesting things were happening. And when I asked, she jumped right back up on the table again. So this for her, this is not uncomfortable. She's very, very well cared for. And some would say spoiled. She's very spoiled. Okay, actually, I think we're done with the elastics. I knew this was going to be a longer than normal groom for her. Said normally she's bath her, put her in her microfiber house coat and let her dry off. But yeah. Hi, Brew. So for those who are new, who weren't here earlier, this is my cat, Brew. Brew is pretty sure she should be on the grooming table when Fred's on the grooming table. And occasionally we'll bat at the cords, which Fred is not a fan of, but that's okay. So now we're just gonna go through. I do want to trim up the shape of her jacket as well, because there is a specific shape you do want to look for when you have a poodle in a show trip. For those on YouTube, that's my Australian Shepherd Nani in the background. Unfortunately, she does kind of show on TikTok. That's my Australian Shepherd in the background. She does not like to be groomed and generally hides upstairs while I'm doing grooming activities. Apparently, she has decided it is safe to come down now. Man. Okay, got some waters. And let's see if we can fix her trim. So we're actually going to turn my table to the front. You guys can see what I'm doing. Dave, turn this way. Fred, I want your head over here. And we're just going to put you on an angle. And there we go. All right, so we're going to pull back a bit here. But I do want everybody to be able to kind of see what I'm doing a little bit more clearly. It's easier to move the whole table than it is to move the cameras. Right, turn around. So I'm going to bring my chair over here because it's easier on me. Fred, you're not helping. Yeah, that's not helping, Fred. Mwah. Uh-huh. She's not heard the blower. Yes, Nani has not heard me make the blow dryer go, so that helped. All right. So one of the things I do have to do, I'm gonna get the cord from where it should be, is shave in Fred's pattern and shaving Fred's pattern, do her nails, and then I'm also, of course, gonna be scissoring those tips. But we might as well start with pattern because a nice clean dog makes it easier to see the lines of what you're trying to do in terms of, oh shoot. What did I just do? I am not sure what happened there. I think my YouTube froze. And that happened earlier. And I don't know why. So Yeah, there we go. I'm not sure what's happening with YouTube. I'm back. I'm back. There we go. I have no idea what happened there, but at least I now know how to fix it. All right, back we go. We're shaving in the pattern. And that was the plan before I got distracted by what was ever happening there. And I really wish I knew why that ended. Okay, there we go. There we go. So probably just an internet hiccup. Yeah, it could be an internet hiccup. I do live fairly out in the country, so my internet is sometimes not the greatest despite being on high-speed fiber optics. So we're gonna give her face a shave here. Give her a nice clean face so that she looks good for Canada Day. So now one of the important things is that I make sure when I do this that I am also shaving the underneath of her ear. Because if you're listening to me, if you're around earlier, if you have a corded dog, you do not want hair from underneath to go into the cords because that can be uncomfortable for the dog. And the biggest thing that you always want to keep in mind when you're doing things like this is the comfort of the dog and what's safe for them. So I'm going to shave out, I'm always going to shave out the underneath of her ear because we don't need that becoming an issue and getting stuck into one of the cords and causing any sort of pulling that could be cause any sort of discomfort for her. This is my special baby, and the last thing I ever want to do is cause her any extreme discomfort if I can avoid it. So yeah. Sorry, you guys get to see the back of me for a second there. But yeah, we're gonna do the same thing with this ear over here. Fred, you want to turn so people can see? Thank you. So we're gonna make sure. So one thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come up the inside of the ear. I'm gonna pull the cords back so I don't accidentally shave the cords. Because if they flop into the way of my razor, yes, I can shave those cords right off. And I don't want to shave off the cords that I've worked so hard to maintain. So awesome. So this is a bit of an awkward angle. Give me a second. I'm going to cross your guys' screen so I can see better what I'm doing without being in the way of the screen. So, and when I'm doing this, I'm going from the ear, and I'm just going straight out. And I'm going to make sure that her cords are not in the way of where I'm trying to shave here. As I said, I put in a lot of work to get these cords. I don't want to accidentally shave them off when I don't mean to. So, yeah. Okay. And we're going to bring in the line on her face here. And we're going to make sure we have good hair flow. And make sure we have a nice clean line. And there we go. Holding her hair up and out of the way as I go and shave her face. So the fun thing with poodles is they have a lot of loose skin. So much fun. So very much fun with that loose skin. So you do want to tighten their skin so you don't accidentally catch anything as you're doing the shave. Okay. If I'm missing anything, obviously, while I'm doing things like shaving or scissoring, why does that look weird? Yes, this is my dog. Her name is Fred. She is a corded standard poodle. Yes, the cording is safe, it does not hurt her, and it is a natural style of the standard poodle. I love a clean face too. Actually, that's a lie. I really loved it when Fred had a mustache. It was amazing. Um, I miss her mustache. But obviously, if I'm keeping her in a show trim, Fred, I can't have her in a mustache. So there we go. This felt like it wasn't right length for a second there. So I'm just giving her a nice clean face and there we go, baby. And obviously, if I'm going in along her mouth, I'm going to want to make sure that skin's tight, but I don't want to accidentally catch anything when you're shaving a face. So, Fred's like, please stop shaving my face, Mom. She didn't like it when she had a mustache and I left that on her either, because you still have to shave part of the face and then you have to scissor it, which, she was not a fan of me scissoring her mustache. Um, all Fred wants in this life is to be in my lap or fed. She really does love her food more than anything else. She would abandon me for a burger in a heartbeat. So I'm just going to move this around. And here we go. There we go. So I do want to make sure that when I'm coming in down along her neckline, obviously I don't want to accidentally remove cords. So, Fred, so when I'm doing this, just like, Mom, please stop. I'm going to go from the base of the cords, placing my clippers along them and up and over. To get that nice clean neckline. I want to see where, because if I just go in and try and carve in that line without knowing what I'm doing or looking carefully to make sure that I am not accidentally taking off part of a cord. Really? I did not do your bottom lip, or your top lip that well. Then, I end up ruining all this hard work I put in. And the last thing I want to do is ruin the hard work I put in to courting this dog for show. And also because it looks really cool. So I'm going to get under her chin here. And here we go. Upsie-daisy, over we go. Upsie-daisy. I'm going to also go in and make sure that there's no hair just curling under her top lip. That's very common. I'm just going to go in along her lip to make sure that I get them all. So that she has a pretty clean face for our event on Canada Day. So there we go. So now Fred has a nice clean face again. The rest of her pattern includes, her bracelets, her feet. It is perfectly comfortable. It's not matted. You can see all the way down to the skin underneath. This is called cording. Cording. And it is a natural style of the standard poodle. Nan's got this. She knows. She knows. So, it is very, very, it's not something you see very often, but it is a very natural style for them. It is not harmful or damages them in any way unless done incorrectly. So if you like the look of a corded dog, that's great. Make sure you have a good mentor before courting a dog yourself. So as I said, you missed the part where we were talking about some of the danger areas that you have to be really, really careful with. Yeah, she's really good. As you can tell, there's nothing making her be on this table. Um, she she's a good girl. She's used to being groomed. She's well cared for. So um, she she could leave at any time if she really wanted to. But what she really wants is for me to reach into my pocket and give her more food for being such a good girl. How many looks? Well, we're at 8,000 likes, so I guess you've earned yourself another treat. We're running low. I might have to grab more. Good girl. You dropped it. Here you go. There we go. What a good baby. Is that the hardest part of starting the courting is maintaining it? Um, I'm gonna be honest, as a show dog person, the hardest part of starting the courting was having to look at her during the stage, where she really did actually look like a neglected dog. Um, I really it was so hard. Other than that, starting it was just making sure that I was splitting things properly so that she was not going to have any chance of being in a situation where it was not comfortable for her. So, because this is my baby, she's my special little girl, and the last thing I ever want to do is to put her in a position where she has to be in pain where I can prevent it. So she is she is so spoiled, this one. Um, there's no I try to deny that she is spoiled. Um, but she is. So natural movements, careful monitoring, yes, have been oh, you guys are talking about something else entirely. Hey, hello, Lisa. Um, I wear a wrist brace at night. I will sometimes wear a wrist brace when I am just brushing, but I find I require more movement when I'm doing things like shaving and scissoring than wearing a wrist brace allows. And so I don't really wear one when I'm grooming. Otherwise, so for that, as you can see, she was very much careful. Trying to get off of the whatever she was. Fred, oh, Fred, 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 can you please come back to the table? I'd appreciate it, Fred. Fred, come on, let's go. Can I finish your groom, please? Thank you. I can tell this is not uncomfortable for her. That's it. She's free to get off the table. Frankie? Naughty girls. Okay, guys, welcome to the chaos portion. Present day, please. Naughty. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna go close my door window because y'all can see her back there, right? My neighbor, like the bad dog she is. Her. Charlie, nothing. At that door right now. She's working at nothing. Just a little brat. Fred, Fred, we're not done. Can you please come back to the table? Yeah, I love you too, but can you please get back to the table? What? Up. Let's go. Can I finish it? Can you please come up? Are you seriously from the couch? Okay, we'll do it. Come on, let's go. Ah, um, this has nothing to do with tattoos. I have three of them. But you don't need to see them. That this is about poodle grooming. So, and my poodles are microchipped, not tattooed. So anybody who knows anything about lines for what a proper show cut is. There are a few differences in doing the trim for with a corded dog. So if you want your dog to have cords, you actually have to adjust some of the lines. So you're actually, because the cords are falling, there's a lot of hair that you don't need. And that also includes going much higher up on the leg than you normally would. You also leave the bracelets a little bit higher than you normally would. But you need to get inside your armpit because that is hair we don't want to become corded. So things like you are always going to be shaving right up into their armpit. That's a pretty sensitive area, and you do not want cords forming inside the armpit. That would not be a safe thing to be doing with a corded dog in this case. So that is something you are not going to allow to happen. So we do shave any place where it will cause potential discomfort for the dog. Rosettes are cute. She is barely even on the camera. We are moving to the back anyways. The other thing is, if you're familiar, this line for the jacket is actually a lot further up than you would normally have. If this was a regular jacket, it'd probably be another inch or so back. But that's because these cords fall backwards. So you need that extra gapping to allow the trim to look good. So once again, I find, even though it's not the way I want to be shaving, because I want a nice clean shave, I start off from the cords, making sure I don't cut into them. I think I grabbed a slightly dull razor blade, so that's not ideal. And going backwards, and I'm going to go back to make sure I get a cleaner shave. And there we go. So there we go. So all right. As the cords mature, it gets a lot easier to see where the cords end and the fuzz begins, I believe. But as I said, we've only been at this for about a year now. So all right. And there are areas that said you do want to go, when you're doing the body shave, you do want to, you go against the grain, you'll get a nice cleaner shave. Which of course means that you do have to be a bit more careful approaching those cords because you don't want to cut them. Okay, I'm pretty sure this one needs to go into my area. No, at NACA last month, that was her half brother, so brother from another mother. His name is Booker. And he was at NACA this year. And I was up there for just a day to help out, but the corded dog was not showing. There they are. The corded dog was not showing that day. Um, but I was there, just not with her. Unfortunately, we will be out showing again in the new year. I've yet to show her in her cords. But yes, that boy that was at NACA, that was Yeah, her brother from another mother, so they share the same sire. And he's actually slightly creamier in color. She's a lot whiter than he is. He actually lives in Ontario, so he'll be showing out there now for the rest of the year. But he was just out here for training with his breeder, who was bringing him out and helping to get some of his training done up for him so that he could be a better show dog. Giving ginger cat just gives crackhead energy. So, okay, for some reason, my phone has decided it's very dark in here and I can't even see the screen. There you go, that's better. Doggo himbo. Yeah, Cinder's my special girl. She's in a different way than Fred is a special girl. Special girl, because she's my special baby. Cinder is just special. I don't know how else to put that. So the nickname for her, I don't know. I don't think it'll get me kicked off of anything, but yeah, she got the most flattering nickname. She's a very interesting dog, to say the least. So, okay, let's do your tail, baby. Okay. Is that no? Okay, I do not secure. I'm not entirely sure I want to keep those. So what about there? We'll see. Some of the hair from that elastic might end up going away. So she is a very good girl to groom, this one. She's definitely on the list of easier dogs to groom. My hardest would be my youngest Cinder, who is a little, oh shoot. Well then, that was not great. My TikTok feed just died because I forgot to plug my phone back in. Yeah. Whoops. Sorry, TikTok. You lost me. Oh. See, and I talked about it earlier that my phone was dying and I needed to plug it in. But did I actually plug it in? I did not. So I guess YouTube, you get me and I get to go back to TikTok in a bit. That was silly. That was silly of me. Huh. Well, this is my very, very fast chargers, hopefully. Oh my god, I'm completely at 0%. Whole crap. Oh. Hopefully they're up here. I don't know. TikTok's a very different one. I think I had like 80 or 90 people watching on that platform. So I feel really bad about that, but oh well. That was my fault for being an idiot. Because I saw that it was unplugged earlier and I was like, oh yeah, I was meant to plug that in and I just didn't. And then I continued to not do it. Oh boy. Yep. Yeah, this is why I named my YouTube channel Positively Chaotic. Yeah, this is my life. This is just the way it is. And I was gonna switch blades because unfortunately my clippers need to be replaced and they do warm up a little bit faster than I would otherwise like. Okay. So, okay, Fred, turn around, please. Fred, turn around. Fred, please turn around. Thank you. And oh, I'm all out of treats anyway, so I guess that works. And you're like, oh, I was gonna give her more treats. Nope, I'm all out. I have to get up to get more, and I would really, really, really like to get this dog done. Because I still have to scissor her. A little bit before we do the tub bit. And I would also like to have the lunch, but I should have thought about having before starting live stream, but I also really just wanted to get this done. Thank you. It won't take that long. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, I should convince them to come to YouTube and just subscribe. Because being Canadian, if I wanted to monetize, I can't do it on TikTok because they don't have that for Canada. So, you think I would have at least realized when my phone went really, really dark? Yeah, that creator fun is annoying. There are some ways to make money on TikTok as a Canadian. It's just a lot harder. So you really have to take part in like promotions and stuff like that. And you're really just not gonna get very much out of it. Come on, in you go. Thank you. So I just missed a little bit when I was doing the line on her jacket there. And sorry guys, my clippers sound funny. So with that. That sounds okay now. Oh, I have no idea what was going on with my clippers. None at all. And do the inside of her leg while I was in there. Okay. Let's get this behind done. I'm gonna stand up for this part. Do you mind not pooping your butthole while I shave around it? She says yes. Yes, I really do mind that. I'm gonna puff anyways. Okay. Oh. There we go. Get some nice clean shaving lines in here. All right. We're almost done, minus her feet. May I? Thank you. You can tell my dog's very much not used to being groomed. Because, I can't totally just place her legs wherever I need them to be while I'm doing this. Okay. I know she doesn't have to be show perfect or event, but that doesn't mean I don't want to get her as close as possible. So, okay. Yeah, just so long as she doesn't fart while I'm back there. She's not bad. Her farts typically don't stink. Typically. So that is the fun one. I think 19% is enough to turn my cell phone back on and go hack on TikTok live. Wow, I can't believe it. I can't remember the last time I let my phone die like that before. Okay. Sorry about all the views in my ass. It's not the best ass to be looking at. Quite apologize for that. Be nice if I had a better one. It's a little flat. All right. That just leaves the feet, which if you're familiar with show trims for anyone, it goes up a lot higher than your traditional show trim. So where my thumb is there, that's where your typical shave line would be for a show trim, about there. And so you can see we go quite a bit above that line for where a normal shave line would be. And that's, once again, we don't need that hair because it won't get long enough to properly cord when you're doing it. So if you have a dog that has still a dew claws, that would be up to the dew claw area. So there, we're gonna move on this angle, Fred, because there we go. Now I can see. I can see. I think my phone is doing its best to start. Now that it's all plugged in, and already at 21%, another 2% since I went to turn the power on. So if y'all just bear with me. Oh, 9. There we go. Also, if I could type in my own dang password. Hey. Some dogs have the dew claws removed, and some dogs just don't have front dew claws. poodles, many poodle breeders remove the dew claws at birth. Literally, they just kind of pop them right off. I believe that they serve an important function, especially if you have a sport dog that you're doing sports with. So, but yeah, I even know breeders who don't do tails, but they'll still do remove the dew claws. So, yeah. Fred, we're not done yet, baby. All right. So one of the biggest things is Fred is what we would call a very short dog. She is not tall at all. Um, we're gonna do something on. We can do something. Hi, you just saw my computer. We can do something on here that I can't do on TikTok, which is this is on a moving structure. So I can try and get this in a position so we can look a bit more down on what I'm doing here. Let's try a better angle. Let's try that. There we go. There we go. Sorry about the drunken fever there. So with Fred, when you have a show dog, the natural lowest point of their jacket should be right at their elbow here. So she does have some cords that hang past that. So those have to be trimmed up. And then because she is such a short dog compared to her length, and a poodle should be square, we actually want to take underneath here fairly tight. So those are some things that I'm going to be working on before we go anywhere. The other thing, of course, is you still want a proper shape going into the body. So there is still, you still want to shape a corded coat. It doesn't just hang there. But you do still want to shape those as well. So a lot of the cords underneath, it would be a lot easier if I kind of grab them one by one, but I'm lazy. No, wait, I'm efficient. And for me, it's sometimes easier just taking a good pair of sharp scissors and going right across. But I'm going to trim a lot of this up under here and make sure that her coat isn't hanging too low. And unfortunately, scissoring is definitely one of the things that hurts the most for me. So I don't want to spend too much extra time on it, but I also want to make sure I'm not doing it in a way that hurts me more than it should. So and if you wonder why I keep lifting her head, it's because that is the position she is in when she is showing. And I want to keep that shape. I want to keep that shape in there. So I do want to make sure. Ha ha, Ren. Ha ha. Cords are a lot tougher to cut through than standard poodle hair. So, okay. This is looking a little bit better. And because it's harder to cut through, of course, that's a little bit more painful for my wrist. All right. So, and yes, you'll see me switching scissors. Just depends on whether I'm doing individual cuts or mass cuts. Another thing, if you're dealing with a cord, and this is something I can't say I have personal experience with, but have been told by other people that cord poodles, that cutting the cord on an angle actually makes for a healthier cord. So a lot of her cords, I trimmed individual cords not that long ago. So I'm not going to be doing too much in terms of trimming the individual cords to get rid of too much loose stuff at the end. Because she's not too bad except for in her ears. which, I've done those ones before, but it doesn't hurt to get rid of some of that extra. And as I was saying up here, I was trimming a lot of these back so they have blunter ends and fit in a little bit more with the cording, with the look of the cording. So actually, because that one's so much longer, I'm just going to trim that back. So I just want to kind of, trim anywhere where it's looking a little too fuzzy and not the way I need it to look. So it looks like I did miss banding in some of the loose hair up here, I think. Either that or it just needs a second band, which actually looks like that might be the case. It just needs a second band up there, which is why I left a few out. It looks like my phone is back up and running. Do you think anybody's gonna return to my TikTok? I feel so bad about that. Let's go back to my profile. Plus, and we'll go back to live and go live. There we go. There we go. Live there. All right. Was there anything else? I think that was all left loose, so I don't want to trim that up too much. Right. I'm holding the elastic for a reason, guys, but I got entirely distracted all over again because, ADHD, right? Well, there we go. And of course, at least now I am plugged in. There's still some loose stuff up here, so not the end of the world. A little bit better. So some of this I'm going to be trimming up. I just don't. I thought I double checked all my splitting. Apparently, I did not. I missed one. I missed this little one over here, which I'm just going to trim the fuzzy tip off of that, give that a blunter in so it fits in a bit better. So I think from where we started, she's definitely looking a little bit more the way we want a show dog to be looking here. So,
For yards of any time. Whatever the fence is, what's your next project? It all starts with a
I am going to trim some of these up because I think they're a bit too long for where they are. I do want to create the proper rosette shape, and while it will fall lower than a natural rosette, I don't want to be too far off the mark here. So a fun tip if you're courting, you can, for those who are here now and might have been here earlier, I am so sorry. My phone died. I forgot to plug it in because, I'm a silly dilly. All right. We're just going to create a little bit of shape in there. The other thing I want to focus on is these bracelets. I take off a lot of this excess here past these where the elastic areas are because it's not going to cord on the other end of the elastic. That's just going to remain nice and loose. So, but because the cords are forming here, I can start trimming these back and getting some nicer looking cords going on here. So, which means she'll also be dragging in less branches and mud, which I get a kick out of though. I do kind of get a kick out of it when she's dragging in branches stuck to her because frankly, it's like getting little gifts of trees. So I'm just really happy that I've gotten rid of a lot of my wild rose because the wild roses would get stuck on all my dogs and they'd just bring in entire sticks of thorny wild roses, and that was not enjoyable for me or for them because then I'd have to untangle these rose branches from their hair, and that would just that's just not something happy. I love wild roses. I hate having to remove what is the national flower, or not national, the provincial flower here. But meh, it needs to be somewhere other than my yard, unfortunately. And I really actually just hate removing flowers in general, because frankly, flowers are important bee food, and I love my bees, and they get a lot of food in my yard. There we go. So this is starting to look a little bit neater. So that way when people look at it, they can actually see that her bracelets are indeed corded and not just a mess. So that's already looking, I say, a lot better, I think. She is a very good girl. She really is. She's, as you can tell, she's not tied up. If you wanted off the table, she could be off the table in a heartbeat. And she's been there a few times during my live that got ended because I forgot to charge my phone. And you know, if I ask, and I don't even demand, I don't make her get back up here. I ask her, and she'll come back up. So, you know, it'd be nicer if she chose never to jump off my table without permission, but meh, she's spoiled. I'll let her continue to be spoiled. So I do still have to shave those feet. I just wanted to give my clippers a break. So it said they're old, they need replacing, and a new pair nowadays costs closer to $200 for these clippers, which I definitely do not have $200. So some of the trims I'm doing back here are simply just trims because they're long enough to touch the ground, and some of the trims are because I want to make the cords look nicer. So it really depends on the cord and the area we're in. But yeah, you can definitely see that as I trim them up, they look a lot neater. Getting rid of those fuzzy ends does make them look a lot more like proper cords, which, you know, they are technically. They're just younger cords, so they're not as neat as one would like to see. That one being me. Perfect. So that's looking a lot better. Right, can you turn around, baby? Yeah, turn around all the way. Come on. Thank you. Stop there. That's good. Well, actually, can you come forward a step, please? Can we fix your stack? Can you fix? So I'm gonna do the same thing I did on this side. I'm gonna double check. I'm gonna see where that elbow is. And then I want to trim these cords that are falling too low on her, which is hard to do without holding onto the cords themselves. If you go a little bit too high, not the end of the world. She is a very, very, very small dog. I do want to make sure I don't leave too much underneath her. So for those who are familiar with show trims, I still do generally want to follow what a show trim should look like on my dog, which is why you see me lifting her up and then going in so I can get the shape right for her cords. And once I see where the scissor lines are, then they're easier to cut. Yeah. So we're already getting a bit more of the right shape in there that we're looking for. Okay. We're gonna go in, we're gonna take off some of these fuzzy ends in here. I want to make this look a lot neater and a little less messy. We're gonna take the tips off of some of these cords. Yeah, probably. Oh, Frank's on the couch now. Apparently, she had enough fun barking and did not enjoy the getting in trouble part of barking at the door, so she is now laying in here. All right, Fred, please. Thank you. Take off those fuzzy ends. A lot of these, the fuzziness will get sucked right back into the cord. So there are probably some few cords in here that I did not trim short enough the last time I did this. gonna do, just want to make sure I have a good looking outline here. So we're gonna go right up here where the jacket line would naturally be without cords. That's the line we want to kind of trim up. And then we also want to make sure that wherever this is falling, it's not falling in a way that it is outside of where we want the trim to be. So I'm going to actually round it out to get the right shape in here. There we go. So it's looking a little bit better. That one has a bit fuzziness there, and that one has some fuzziness there. I'm going to trim that off. And I don't know what's going on with this. We're going to get rid of that. There we go. So she's starting to look a lot neater already. Definitely looking a lot tidier for her demonstration. So, yeah, we're getting the shape we want. I'm going to just kind of do this. I'm going to double check some of these cords in here. And make sure that we're coming up. Like I said, she's a very short dog, so we want to make sure that we're not seeing too much that we don't need to see on her. So then we're going to come in and we're going to do these ones too. Yes, it is naturally corded hair. Poodles, you don't see it often because most people either don't realize you can cord a poodle and that it's a natural style for them, or they know you can do it and they're not willing to put up with that one stage in cording where they kind of just look like an absolute disaster. I'll be the first one to admit, getting through the stage where she looked like an absolute disaster was a tough one because they have at least a minimum 2 to 3 months where they kind of look neglected. And it's not fun if you're somebody who is really proud of your dog and you like them looking nice all the time. It's a tough thing to go through. I know, like, if I did take her out anywhere during that stage, my very first words to people were like, "We're in the process of courting. She's not neglected. She's not just matted. Like, we're in the process of putting a very specific trim on this dog, or a very specific hairstyle. Because corded is not a trim; it's just a style of hair, and that corded hair can be in any kind of trim you want. And I've seen people have their cords on all different kind of poodle trims. So that you can see once again, you're starting to see a little bit more clearly the cording on this on her bracelets, whereas before it was just a lot fuzzier, a lot less distinct. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to double check at the individual cords, make sure there's nothing that I can take a little bit shorter to help keep it look a little tidier. So I'm going to take some tips off here. So, because that's the key, that once those cords are mature enough, that's when you can start trimming them back. Until that point, they just kind of have these really fuzzy ends. And that's part of what makes them look like they're neglected, is those fuzzy ends that you can't trim off until those cords really start to mature. Yeah. And I think it's sad that you just don't see it more. But there are a bunch of us who are very keen to bring this style back to poodles. And we're working really hard within our own areas to show off the trim, to educate people about it. It's one of the reasons I go on lives and do my grooming of Fred and most of my dogs, honestly, on a live, so that people can, learn about what this is and why she looks like this, and that it is actually a natural style. You just don't see it because most people just aren't willing to go through a few months of your dog looking like an absolute unmitigated disaster in grooming. Because the fuzzy ends I'm taking off on her bracelets right now, if you can imagine her entire body kind of looked like that, it was not fun. More of that. And it was worse because it's her entire body that looks like that, right? But as soon as you start to take off these tips, that's when you really start to see the cording come through. Um, and as the cords mature, their shape does change as well. So now we're just gonna go in. Last place to put her is her tail. And then I can finish off shaving her feet, doing her nails. Although I might save her nails for another day just because my wrist is really sore. And that is another thing that is very, very hard on my wrist. I'm pretty sure it won't be too long after I start my new job where I'm going to go get a doctor to actually look at it. Because if they prescribe me anything for it now, I cannot afford to get it. So the doctor is free, the prescriptions are not. I got all the x-rays I want, ultrasounds, whatnot. But man, they prescribe me anything in terms of medication or physiotherapy or anything like that, I'm screwed. Okay, so another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just kind of put her tail in its her natural carry position because I want to see how this looks. Because I might take a lot more off the end because the end of her tail is right here. So we've got quite a bit of hair that goes past the end of her tail. And when she was in a brushed out trim, we obviously kept the tip of her tail trimmed quite short, close to the base there, to keep it looking not as long as it is since she is an undocked dog. But that's a little bit harder to do in this trim. So just a little harder to do. So now this is looking a little bit more the way we want it in terms of what is going on for the fuzzies. We are probably going to run my clippers along it and probably tidy up how fuzzy some of these are because that is something you can do. Sorry, there's just some fuzzies along here that are driving me absolutely around the bend. So I'm just going to cut them nice and short and hope the cords cover the rest. So now she's looking a little more like the show dog she is supposed to be. So we are just going. I know we did this for her tail before, just because we hadn't trimmed it. So I'm just gonna quickly. I'm gonna make sure that I have this very lightly. I'm gonna bring it down. Very lightly. We're gonna bring it down the cords, and that's just gonna try and remove some of the fuzziness of them. So without going into the cord itself. And we're only going to do it on the cords that are a little bit more mature so that they just look a little tidier. It doesn't make a huge difference. It's more of a tiny difference. But then all the little cut hairs, when I wash her, will get sucked right back into the cord itself. So it just helps add some definition and tightness to the cord. So and for right now, of course, because I have a sharp object near my dog, my focus will not be on the chat. So if you do have questions and somebody else in the chat can't answer it, just wait until I have my attention on the camera again, and then ask. So you can already see it's getting a little bit more defined and a little less fuzzy looking, and that's kind of what we're aiming for here. Just a little bit more defined, a little less fuzzy. It's amazing how the little things can just make a really big difference in the long run. As I said, it's something you do want to do very carefully because you do take the risk of cutting right through the cord if you don't know what you're doing. So there we go. That's looking a little bit better. And that means, and that was probably the biggest thing I wanted to tidy up there was her tail this time. Could use a little bit more scissoring on some of the cords, and I think I will while I'm looking at it. And just get some of these longer pieces cut off here. And well, it may not always be immediately visible, the results of what I'm doing. I do hope that in the long run, it does make a difference. So, pretty tail. Look at that corded tail. Awesome. So the only thing left to do really is her feet. Finish those off. I wanted to give her a break. And then we will try and do her nails later, but probably not on live just because my wrist is a little on the sore side and I just really do need to give myself a break. And I'm also like super late for having my lunch because I did not plan things out to the brightest of my intent. But I know if I leave grooming off too long, I just leave it off. And she does need to be Fred, please. Thank you. And she does need to be looking good for the Rocky Mountain House Canada Day celebration when she will be there at the demonstration dog and for meet and greet. So, Fred, it's not warm. You're fine. I love just how she, as soon as I tell her it's not warm, she's like, "Ugh, I didn't fool you, dang it." Freddie, she is a cutie pie. She really is. She's something else, this dog. Fred, can I finish your feet, please? She's like, I'd really rather you didn't shave my feet, Mama. Unfortunately, it's safe to say she is not the biggest fan of having a clean foot. If she had her way, she would always have fuzzy feet. Unfortunately, if I want to continue this show her next year, fuzzy feet are not an option for this trim. So she has to have her feet shaved. So, don't mind me as I lean off the camera for TikTok there, because yeah, she's a little less cooperative for the foot shave. Fred, and you. Yeah, it's still cold. Don't even. You're fine. Yeah. Doesn't have to be a show-worthy clean shave on her feet today. But I would like it a good clean shave on her feet today. Okay. Come on. Oh, fuzzy, fuzzy toes, fuzzy, fuzzy toes. Get those feetsies cleaned out here. I always wish I was a lot faster with foot shaves. I am not very fast at all. Unfortunately. I also wish I was a bit faster with doing nails. Also something that I definitely struggle on building the speed in. Uh, but that's okay. Point is, I do know how to do it, so it still gets done. It just takes me a little extra time, which means my blades do get warmer much quicker than they do for some other people. Right, turn around, all the way around. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, do you really think I should train my dog to be better on the table? Hey, look at that. I had to ask her more than once to turn around. What a terrible trainer I am. Whew. Yeah, my wrist is really feeling this right now. They getting in there so I could do the clean paws. Combine that with all the scissoring I was doing, and I definitely need to stop and take some extra pain management medication. For now, put some extra topical pain cream on it before I even think about trying to do her nails. And I still have one more dog that I need to have groomed up for this. For Rocky Mountain, that is my youngest Cinder, who I think really could use a little bit more exposure since I live out of the country and I don't really go anywhere. It's fine, baby. And I don't really go much anywhere, and she could just really use some more exposure because she's 2 now, and her last show was just over a year ago. So she hasn't been getting the kind of exposure and socialization I would normally like to have for my dogs. But it doesn't mean she's not recoverable. Yes, Cinder will be there. Um, my little baby crack head. She's the special one. Fred, I know you're ticklish. I get it. May I? Last foot, baby, and then we'll grab extra treats, and you're all done, and we'll end our lives, and we'll go out. Well, I'll have lunch. I don't know what I'm having for lunch, but I'll have some lunch. I was gonna have a Greek salad for lunch. I don't know if I'm really feeling that Greek salad right now. I might end up having that instead with my dinner, and just having something a little bit lighter for lunch today. I mean, not that a Greek salad isn't considered a light lunch, but I was gonna have like a Greek salad, like a good amount of a salad there. I was gonna have a nice big bowl of it. Maybe I'll still make it, and I'll just have half now, and I'll save the other half for when I make my dinner. I don't know. We'll figure it out when I get there. But also for those who also follow my gardening saga, there's a whole new watermelon. I went out this morning to go look, and there was another watermelon seedling. I wasn't expecting that many to survive either. Still only 2 zucchinis though, which sucks. So I really like zucchini. I really do. And I will use it, but obviously my zucchini does not love me. But I'll save some seeds from this year's harvest for next year and keep my garden a little bit more. Yes, I get it. You're ticklish. I get it, baby. We're almost there, lovey. You almost have a clean foot. I think we've got it just about. And there we go. So that is how we groom up a corded standard poodle. Um, Sorry, there's this area right near her withers that I like to scritch. So I just look at it, I'm like, oh, that's a little fuzzier than I would like it to look at that point. So we're just gonna quickly just bring that along here, just where it falls naturally. And we'll see about just bringing that down a bit. There we go. So yeah, next step after this is for her to hit the bathtub. And then she gets put in a special towel while she dries. And yeah, not me still noticing more things as I'm going through, going, could be trimmed up there and could be trimmed up there. And I mean, if you've ever groomed for show, you kind of know exactly what's going through my brain here as I'm looking at things going, that could be better, that could be better. Ugh. Cords cut better when they're pulled tight. Just, if you ever have a corded dog and you just want a free scissor, just keep in mind that tends to be a bit of a challenge. And that, yeah, these do scissor a lot better when they're pulled tight unless you're just doing the tips. Hi. Yeah, it is. Mel has this. She's talked to me about cords in quite extensive amount. But there we go. So as you can see, profile wise, we did bring her up in here. There's probably a little bit more trimming I can easily do to have this trim fit her a little bit better because as I said, she is a very short dog. So for her, we don't want a huge amount of undercoat on her. Otherwise, she is going to look very, very heavy and it's not going to look good on her. I'm going to take some of these short pieces and just trim them back a little bit there. And any place where I see these fuzzy ends on my cords, I want those off too. But more than that, for those who are watching my earlier stream or are on YouTube, I think I would say she looks a lot better than when I started this process, right from nose to tail. The cords, I think, are looking a lot tidier and a lot more defined at this point. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm happy to be corrected. And then this front part, this is going to stay fluffy so that when I do show her, she gets to have the dramatic poodle bubble, which would look something like this. Something more like that. There we go. It's hard to do without doing it intentionally. Anyways, it looks really cute. So yeah, next step, as I said, it is the bath. But for now, I'm gonna call it a live stream, and if I'm feeling up for it, maybe I'll get center done a bit later. But lunch first. It's already 3 p.m. And then maybe I'll throw, not maybe, then I will definitely throw this girl in the bath and get those cords to tighten up with a nice bath time. So, and stop picking at them because the more I look at my dog, the more I see things that I need to do. Awesome. Everybody have a great day. And if I'm around later, if I do go on live later, then I'll go on live later. Hopefully you get notified. All right. So let's end this. End this. Come on, TikTok. You are the most difficult one to end.